Hi, welcome to Think Tech. We are raising awareness of technology, energy, globalism, and diversification. This show is the arts in Hawaii. It's the diversification component of that strategy. We are coming to you live from Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu, very close to Kumukuhua Theater, where I am the very proud managing director. I am Donna Blanchard, host of the show, and our guest today is Chad Sato, or Sato. We'll get to him.
Yes.
We'll get to him in just a moment, now that I've pronounced his name correctly. You'd think I'd ask about these things before the show starts. Remember, I'm going to read a little bit here. We broadcast live on the internet every weekday. All of our shows are streamed on ustream.tv and Spreaker.com. And if you want links to our live streams as well as archived shows, go to thinktechhawaii.com. And if you would ever like to join us in the downtown studio for our shows, write to Jay, that's J-A-Y, at thinktechhawaii.com. Now, on to the good stuff. Our guest today is a chiropractor, life facilitator, speaker, and author. He's the founder of Aloha Chiropractic in Manoa, and through his 15 years of practice working with thousands of people, has developed a body of knowledge that he shares in his new book, Infinite Body Wisdom. Here today to tell us more about the body-mind connection and how we can become more empowered in our lives is Dr. Chad Sato. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Donna.
Oh, thank you very much for being here. I really enjoyed the book.
Well, I'm glad that you did. It's been an interesting process of writing the book and detailing things that I experienced in my practice and just observing what people go through, what they experience, and the stories they shared. And that's how I've been able to understand that there's more to the body-mind connection than just I have a painful neck or I have a low back pain.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? One of the things that I found very interesting is the book is that you kept an open mind for a very long time. You were open to new, I don't even know what you call them, but new theories, new practices within the body healing art.
Yes.
Is that a good way to express that?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I think your average doctor goes to school and gets out and then they just close their brain and stop learning, but yes. I was impressed by that you continued to gather knowledge and you really continued to evolve, and you had resistance to it at times.
Oh, yes, it's because our mind thinks a certain way. It thinks A to B to C, a very linear way of thinking, but the way our bodies works is by chaos. There's never A to B to C. Sometimes it goes from A to D to G, G back to B. Mm-hmm. So to understand the body, I figured the best way was for a person to gain greater knowledge of themselves. And so as I started asking questions, that's where I started to pay more attention and really understanding what is going on with a person's life and asking them the right question, which then would prompt the right answer.
Now then I have to get into the thick of it right away with you and say,
okay, perfect.
That right question, is that something that is coming to you? Is it coming from your gut? Is it coming from your head?
A lot of times, believe it or not, I think it's when we work in the healing arts, instead of it just being me being the one that's bringing it through, I think we're working with universal energy. We're working with spirit that really works through me to help a person understand what's going on with them, if they're open to it. It may sound a little bit metaphysical, a little bit sort of out there, a little spiritual, but I think any type of healing arts, or even just think about pregnancy, when a woman gives birth, how does a baby's head fit through something very small? I mean, there has to be something more mystical, something more magical. And when I started asking more questions, this is where the magic sort of showed up.
Mm. Okay, so then I have to ask, do you have some sort of centering practice that you go through before you meet with people?
So what I've done is, after my first year of practice, I recognized I needed to learn how to meditate. So when I first wake up in the morning, I would just sit up in my bed and I would just start to meditate. Whether it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, it's where I get centered for the day. And I found that if I don't meditate in the morning, then I don't feel quite balanced. And then when I work with people, at first it was about making sure I don't take on their energy, I don't dump my stuff on them. So I've learned to become very clear that as soon as I step into my office, that it's not about me anymore. It's about the people I work on. And that's really what it's all about. The healing arts is I think I call myself a facilitator because instead of me being the healer, I rather teach people to learn how to heal themselves. And it's about really listening to their stories, what's going on, their energy that's coming through them. Sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's love, sometimes it's frustration, sometimes it's fear that prompts them to say, I want to do something different with my life. I want to be able to experience more in my life. And so sometimes neck pain could be a signal of the body or an excuse just to get a person to say, hey, something doesn't sit well with me, that's really bothering me.
You know, well, and this point comes up over and over again in the book, that it's not just, you know, I sit, despite the fact that I'm a theater manager, everyone, I think, you know, often people think that we're up in the theater all the time. I'm sitting at a desk in front of a computer. So I get aches and pains.
Yes.
And I always associate them with, you know, the ergonomics are not so good here, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, when everything is going well, it doesn't bother me.
Yes. When you're inspired, right? When you're happy in the moment, the last thing you think about is your body, because you're just inspired and you're in the moment. And that's really what our body is designed for. If we're not in the moment, if we're thinking about something that happened in the past, mulling over a hurt, mulling over some sort of betrayal, some sort of anger, some sort of issue, then we're not being present with ourselves. And also if we project in the future, if we're worrying about what may happen, about a trip or a business deal, if we think too much about the future, then our body will create something in order for us to say something doesn't feel right.
And it's taken me this long in my life to get to the point where I recognize that if I get a cold or if something happens to me that makes me stop, I may not like it, but I have to on some level be grateful, which is sometimes difficult, but at the very least I can say, all right, what am I going to learn?
Perfect.
And earlier in the year I broke my foot.
Okay, the left side or right side?
Very left.
Okay, left
two
side.
metatarsals, the third and fourth, if you need to know.
Okay, yes.
And it was just, I needed that time to slow down and really think, and always, now we're going to talk about me for a little while.
Which is perfect.
Anytime I've gone through major transitions in my life, I have injured an ankle or a foot.
Yes, because the feet are all about either moving forward, how we're going to move into the world. So a lot of times for our left foot, when you injured your left foot, were you thinking about either making a change or were you trying to figure out a path that you wanted to take? Whether it was through a creative path, whether through a life path, personal or even vocational.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, so that's why sometimes, and depending, how long did it take you to recover from your broken foot? Was it relatively fast?
It was actually when they took the x-rays, the doctor was really surprised at how quickly and well it healed.
Okay, so were you...
about 4 weeks.
Yeah, so once you injured it, you became more clear, you took the time off to recognize what do I really want to do. And once you made that decision, it became clear, so your foot healed faster.
Yeah.
If you didn't make that decision quicker and decide this is what I wanted to do, it would have taken you probably 2 months.
Much longer.
Or maybe 3 months, and probably would still be bothering you now.
Yeah.
But once you got your footing correctly, you knew this direction you wanted to take, that's why it healed really fast.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I can say that I both started college and ended college on crutches. Major moves have always happened on crutches. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That resonates with me. So enough about me for now. I can guarantee you I will talk about myself some more. But
that's what it's all about. When people come to my office, it is about them. Because people are seeking me out in order for them to discover what is their truth, what is it that they're looking for. Sometimes it might be an ailment, could be a low back pain. It could be even as severe as allergies that never seem to go away, that they're searching for some sort of ease and peace. And that's sort of my whole goal, is to help them to recognize what's going on in their life, the stress, their worries, their fears, places where they feel they're supposed to be instead of appreciating where they're at now. But once they recognize that, a lot of times the symptoms may decrease by anywhere between 70 to 90%.
Just by recognizing, sometimes you don't even have to do anything, just recognizing.
Just by getting them to recognize, this is what's going on with my life, this is what's been bothering me for, let's say, a year, 2 years, or it could be even 6 months. Once they recognize what's been going on in their life, a lot of times that symptom will disappear.
And I believe you. It sounds out there, but I have lived this to some extent, and it's laid out very nicely in the book. We've got just a couple minutes more in this segment, so let's talk about what you are doing right now. You have this book out. Where do people get this book?
You can get it on Amazon.com. You can also buy it at my office. And so we also have the Kindle version as well on Amazon.com.
I have it on my Kindle.
Perfect.
also, so I'm never without it. It's called Infinite Body Wisdom, Using Your Body Signals to Heal Yourself and Your Life. And you have your practices here in Honolulu. What's the name of your?
It's Aloha Chiropractic.
Aloha Chiropractic.
I was very fortunate to get that name because prior, another chiropractor was using it for the past 20 plus years. And the year when I decided to open my practice in 1999, I checked for it and the name was free. And I just called up the chiropractor, asked him if I could use the name, and he said, that's fine. Whoever calls looking for him, just to send his patients to him.
Nice.
And that's how I got Aloha Chiropractic.
It was meant to be?
It was meant to be, yes.
And then you also are teaching some workshops at Happiness U.
Teaching some workshops, 6 workshops at Happiness U based upon my book. It's an expanded version of my chapters. The design for my workshops is to go in more detail about giving more exercises, simple to do exercises. Because I found that if you give people exercises that are too complicated, they're not going to do it. So I want to give really simple exercises that helps people to connect with their bodies more. And so I teach at Happiness U 6 times out of the month, teaching my classes based upon my book with the different fruits that I use.
Okay, and that's happinessu.com.
HappinessaU.com. Yourhappinessu.com.
Yourhappinessu.com.
Yeah,
Thank you. So we were the chiropractic medicine that you practice. Oh, I always say chiropractic medicine. Should I
Yes.
say that?
No.
I grew up in the Midwest. That's why I say that.
Yes.
that's what I learned. Can you tell me a little bit about your modalities? Is that a way to say it?
Yeah, modality I've been using for the last 15 years has been network spinal analysis, which is, I would say, there's over 2,000 chiropractic techniques out there. And I feel that the technique that network has offered is people innate strategies to come forth, to develop their own internal strategies on how to feel tension in bodies, how to breathe better, how to release stress in a more productive way, as well as eventually learn how to use stress. Instead of it shutting your body down, instead of creating pains, you're able to direct that energy in a more efficient manner. But the ultimate goal is to get a person to be more in tune with their bodies, to learn that stress can be beneficial instead of it being harmful.
And that, I don't have any problem buying into that as
Yes.
an actor, that you use stress a lot on stage. You use the character stress, or I have an understanding of stress and excitement really being the same manifestation.
Yes.
It's just what you do with your brain that
How you
changes.
perceive it. Yeah. And so instead of me manipulating people's spines like most traditional chiropractors do, it's more about matching a person's force and really matching where they're at so they can use that energy in order for them to make their own self-corrections in their body and in their spine. So a lot of times we don't need very much. Sometimes a whisper can be very powerful versus yelling at someone. So that's what I'm doing, is helping people to tune into their bodies so that way they can listen to what's happening internally as well as mentally and even emotionally and even so far spiritually, to see what is true for them and to be able to live their truth more.
So it sounds like a session with you, which I am going to get, by the way.
Yes.
We'll be calling your office. A session with you, it sounds like there's a lot of talking. When I've gone to chiropractors before, there's been a little bit of talking and a lot of manipulation, and sometimes laying on a table with rollers that go up and down your spine.
So you don't have any rollers, it's just a table on yourself. When you first initially come to me, there's a lot of talking because I want to help you to understand what's going on with your life currently. As you go through adjustments, it's more about working through the body to get to the mind. Because if we have to talk with the mind, then the mind can lie to us at times, right? If we're tired, we'll say, oh, I'm not tired, or can drink some coffee or some caffeine to keep us up, right? So a lot of times we can override our bodies many ways, but I want to get a person to connect their body first to get to their mind. So once you feel what's going on with your body, if there's a tightness or discomfort, you're going to want to move. Think about it, if you're at the desk all day typing, ergonomics plays a huge role, but even if you have it ergonomically correct, if you're not aware that tension's built up in your shoulders, but let's say if you do become aware, then you'll find a way to allow yourself to drop your shoulders down, take some deep breaths in, and allow yourself to be more at ease. So, so it becomes yours, your strategy.
I found myself self-correcting while I was reading your book. I was sitting there, like this, and it made me sit up and, all right, I'll be aware of what I'm doing here. And how long have you been in practice here?
15 years.
15 years.
We'll make it in October.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
And are people able to get an appointment with you?
Yes, right now we do take new practice members. I call them practice members instead of patients, largely because the focus is to teach people to become practicing members in their health. because until a person takes responsibility for what's going on in their life, then I can only do so much.
Right.
So hence patience is more passive, not active in their healing.
I like that. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll come back and we will go back 15 years and we'll learn how Chad got here. So stay tuned. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series, and we'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is Think Tech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is Think Tech. I'm Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
Hi, we're back and we're live. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series. I am Donna Blanchard, your host and very proud managing director of Kumukuhue Theater, and I'm talking with Dr. Chad Sato, who is a chiropractor and the writer of this book, Infinite Body Wisdom. And your office is Aloha Chiropractic.
It's Aloha Chiropractic, yes.
So let's go back, and this is talked about in the book a little bit. I feel like I know you, but let's tell everyone else about your beginnings. What drove you to chiropractic?
What drove me to chiropractic, it was, believe it or not, when I was a junior, senior in high school, I was wondering what I wanted to do with my life. And so one of my dad's friend was a chiropractor, and he first told me, oh, you should become a chiropractor because you'll be your own business owner and you make lots of money. I'm like, okay. The interesting part was he never told me anything about how it was about connecting a person with their own healing energy inside to understand the miracle of their own healing process. So I went to UCLA for my undergrad with the intent that I would study for 2 years, get my basic sciences in order to go to a chiropractic college. But as life would have it, I got injured. I was lifting weights. I injured my back. It took me around a week and a half to get better. But once it got better, I was like, okay, that's fine. I went back home to Christmas time, picked up a piece of paper, my back went out.
Yeah.
I went to visit my dad's friend, a chiropractor. He worked on me. I was still in lots of pain because he didn't tell me that. If he had told me that, what is going on in your life, what is challenging, what doubts you have, then it would have been a whole different experience. But he didn't. So I was sort of jaded by that experience. Went to a deep massage therapist that after an hour and a half, I was able to at least hobble out of the office. Within like a week, my back sort of calmed down a bit, so I was able to function again. And so then I went down a different route, decided to go into medical school, took the MCATs, did well on them, applied to medical colleges, but back in the 90s, it was about research, and I did not like research. So when I did apply to medical colleges, they told me that I had to spend a year researching, reapply, guarantee I'll get in. And so I didn't want to do that, so I came back home to Hawaii, did some side jobs, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and then one night I surrendered. I just said, okay, God, universe, who are you? But what am I to do with my life? And got my message. You'll be a chiropractor. And so from there, the next day, actually at that moment, I had all these visions in my head. It was almost like a slideshow, and got faster and faster. And I think it was just what my life would be like. And it got to the point where I couldn't see it anymore. But I was so inspired the whole night. I was up, I was awake. And the next morning I applied to 3 chiropractic colleges and never looked back.
You just felt like you heard
My calling.
it was it.
That was it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I did go to chiropractic college. I learned all the traditional ways of working on a person's spine, moving the bones. But then in my 4th month of chiropractic college, I took a elective, which brought a whole different perspective about chiropractic. It was only about holding contact points on people, not moving a bone.
And that's the best?
Best technique.
Yeah.
And that best technique it's a very powerful technique because it helps a person to connect their sympathetic with their parasympathetic. So in layman's terms, sympathetic is a fight or flight. Okay, when we get into a fight or if we're scared, we run. The parasympathetic system is when we eat a very heavy meal and we just want to sleep, we just want to fall asleep. So the important parts of the system is the sympathetic system allows us to move our energy. It's when we're active. The parasympathetic system is so important because when we are resting, that's when our body repairs itself. However, now in this day and age, because of stress, work stress, financial burdens, family obligations, even though we go to bed at night, a lot of people, even if they may sleep 7 or 8 hours, it's not restful sleep. So the body never shifts into the parasympathetic mode and it never repairs itself. So as people get older, they find that they wake up in the morning still exhausted, not even rested throughout the night, even if they may have slept 6 to 8 hours. So,
Preach.
yes, yeah. So from that start, I just kept on asking more questions, and I wanted to learn all these different ways of how to address the body. So I worked on extremities. I learned all these different techniques to help me understand what I could do for a person. I wanted to have like a bag of tricks. So if anything, a person walked in, I knew exactly what I could do to help them. But through my chiropractic career, in my internship, that's where I started recognizing that it wasn't necessarily about getting rid of a pain or a symptom, but more about what is going on with a person's life. I found that unless they took ownership, they took responsibility of their life, sometimes a symptom or a pain was their justification of why they couldn't move forward in their life. So I recognized then that I wanted to offer people much more, that I wanted to empower people in order for them to really trust their true self, in order for them to really live life in the present moment, instead of basing their life based upon past experiences or future expectations or future occurrences.
And treating symptoms along the way.
Yeah.
Can we go back to BEST for just a minute
Yes,
and
we
help
can.
me understand that with a little more depth? So you are, by using pressure points?
Not necessarily. It's by finding 2 charge spots. So anytime there's a tight muscle or there's pain in a person's body, all you got to just push on it, you can feel the pain. So the technique is interesting because you would have to find these painful spots. Just hold the 2 painful spots, and then magically the pain would dissipate and go away, just by holding those spots.
Because you are telling the body, in essence, to heal that
Yes,
part,
bring that
to
awareness.
rest and heal it.
But yet I'm still the one being involved in it. So that's why it was very energetically draining, because it passed through me.
Ah, yeah.
So then I got into network, which then opened up a whole different world. It was something that I was looking for, where it was about knowing when to adjust a person, where to adjust. Is it the neck? Is it the mid-back, the low back, the pelvis, the feet, the head, and how much force? Every chiropractor asks themselves those questions. Where, when, and how much force? And so this technique offered that awareness where I could know exactly where I needed to be to deliver that right amount of pressure or that force so the person's own nervous system can take that energy, do the self-correction, and bring breath and bring more ease into the system.
And you are getting that, so you're having a conversation with someone, but you also feel as though you are being guided.
Yes, and the person's body will give us that information. And a lot of times it's just by even shaking hands. When you first shake hands with someone, okay, we find a nice medium, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some people try to kill your hand, some people barely shake your hand. So it's about matching a person's force, almost finding a nice rapport. And so the technique offers that, where it's about tuning into the person instead of the doctor saying, I'm going to do this to you. So it becomes more of an honoring process.
Gotcha. Oh, interesting. And it was kind of through, it sort of came to you when you learned BEST initially, that was offered and it intrigued you, and then network.
Along the way I took all these different other techniques that just brought more pieces of the puzzle. And then we got to network in my first quarter in clinic. That's where it opened up the doors in further. It was the other end of the spectrum of BEST, where it was finding the space of charge, but then finding a spot of ease. Because in every spot of tension, you'll find one spot that has a place that's more accepting. And that's the spot that you want to be. Because once it's almost like an access point. Once you make the right amount of force on that access point, the body says, oh, I can take that because I'm not defending myself. See, what tension and pain does is it's protecting. That's the strategy of pain and tension. So if you can find the spot where it's more welcoming, it's almost like the key fitting the right lock. that helps to open up the rest of the magic.
Ah. Is that kind of like naturopathy? Is that it? A naturopath is more. I always understood that as more working with muscles to release so that the bones can become better aligned.
Yes. So there's, of course, there's people who do work with the muscles to get to the bones. We still work with the nervous system because the nervous system is, I would say, the controlling, because a muscle will tighten up because the nerve is firing to that muscle to tighten up. So if you work
Gotcha.
with the nervous system first, then if you reroute the nervous system in the way it deals with stress, then it will automatically let go of the tension if it feels safe.
So it's another whole nother level.
Yes.
Into it. And so you said there are 2,000 different
Around
techniques?
2,000 different chiropractic techniques that are evolving, being created.
So there's quite a few that you have learned about and come in contact with that you just
Yes.
eschew for these.
Yes, that I found that this was a greater way to get people to be more connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way you talk about it, the way you speak about it.
Yes.
That it is that you are listening rather than dictating. I know there is a great deal of science that goes into it as well. You had to go through medical school to get here.
Yeah, a lot of the left brain, a lot of the understanding the nervous system, understanding the physiology of a human body, understanding the chemicals, the nutritional aspects. We had to learn that in chiropractic college, but once again, I had this knowledge base, but until a person can tune into their own knowledge of their own body, of their own life, then I can tell a person, okay, I want you to run 2 miles a day. If a person doesn't like to run, they're never going to run. Right? If a person has a diet that could be altered or changed, but yet their lifestyle doesn't allow for that, then even if I tell them, okay, I want you to eat more green leafy vegetables, I want you to stop eating the fried foods. But until a person gets it in their own body that it doesn't feel right to do that, they'll still be eating it. So I found the best way was help teach a person to become more aware of their body. So when they start eating something that doesn't agree with them, their body will let them know ASAP, don't eat that. And that becomes their power.
When I gave up caffeine about a year ago after a love affair, a torrid love affair for years. I realized at one point that I had had a cup of coffee every day of my life except for one day when I was in the hospital. And then I sweet-talked a nurse into supplying me. And you could have never told me a year ago, before then, to stop drinking coffee. I would have said, "Oh yeah, okay."
So what made you change?
I was not feeling well, and I decided to go on yet another cleanse. But this time, I actually said, "I'm really going to give up because normally I would give up everything but the caffeine."
Wow!
So I decided I'm really going to do it, and it was huge for me to realize that my energy was governed by that. It's not that I was getting my energy from it; it was governing my energy, and I have so much more energy now. I never would have believed that.
Yes.
I never would have believed that possible. My energy is much more reliable.
It's more balanced.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. Because I can't, that's the only time I don't drink coffee is whenever I work on people because my energy gets unstable.
Yeah.
It's harder for me to focus when I work on people energetically if I have coffee in my system.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I enjoy a cup of coffee now and then, but I don't drink it every day. And,
well, see, I had a serious addiction. I mean, it was a monkey on my back, and that, once I realized that, then I didn't want anything to do with it anymore. But there's a lot of health benefits to coffee.
There are some
also, but it can be very disruptive to.
Yes, especially for energy, and I found that I can't do that. Yeah, it's funny. I've tried it, and it's harder for me to focus.
Yeah.
And be present with the person. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. You have your 5 core strategies. Let's dive in. I know we're going to be having a break coming up pretty soon, but let's go ahead and dive in and see how far we can get on these.
Great.
So your 5 core strategies. Let's start with the acorn, the symbol. What this means.
I wanted to find something that would have a symbolism, and acorn was the first step because the acorn. If you think about the acorn, it's a small little nut that squirrels kind of gather. Right? They hoard it for the winter time so they have food. But in the acorn itself is a tiny oak tree that if it's planted in some fertile ground, you water it, you take care of it, it has natural sunlight, eventually it'll become this huge, amazing oak tree. So I thought the first step is when a person is in alignment with themselves, if they are nourishing themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then the way they live their life can be in alignment with what's true for them. And so I thought about the different people I've worked on in the past 15 years, and I remember some cases where people who were not in alignment with their life, that they had all these symptoms showing up. And it was just because they were trying to live a life that wasn't theirs. They were trying to either live a life that their parents wanted, or all the shoulds of what they ought to do instead of what they really wanted to do. And so once a person became clear about that, then the symptoms disappeared and they were more in truth with their life path. And that's how the acorn came about.
Okay. I like that. And in all of your chapters, you give several examples, and the vertigo, boy, did that resonate with me. I had a major problem with vertigo while I was in a bad relationship, and a total, I needed a revamp, you know. I needed to hit the reset button.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the acorn. Let's talk about the onion.
The onion, what I discovered is that when I work on people, I find out how many years that person stores tension in their spine, whether it's 12 years ago, 15, 20, 23 years ago. But the way our body works is that any type of experience we've gone through, positive or negative, our body holds that memory in our musculature. And depending on to the degree of it, it will get thicker, all depending on the same energetic experience. So I found it's positive and negative, because a lot of times we think it's just challenging experiences that we defend ourselves from, but we also hold on to the positive thoughts too. Because when life isn't so good, we reminisce about the good old days. So the onion strategy is just our body's way of having these different layers of experiences that we apply upon ourselves. And like an onion, when we cut an onion or peel an onion, what happens?
There's layers and layers and layers,
and we tend to cry. We cry, right? The emotions come up because we experience a particular experience. So I understood that if people can trust themselves enough to take off these layers of the onion, then eventually they come to their core self, which is truly themselves. And so, yes, the onion is all about how to take off these old layers so we can be more present.
All right, we're going to get back to a little bit more of the onion in a moment. We're going to take a break. This is The Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series. I'm your host, Donna Blanchard, talking to Dr. Chad Sato. We'll be right back.
Castle & Cook Hawaii, investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics, empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including Think Tech.
And we're live. This is The Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series. I am your host, Donna Blanchard, very proud managing director of Kumukuhua Theater. We are coming to you live from Pioneer Plaza, which is very near Kumukuhua Theater in the heart of downtown Honolulu. We're talking with Dr. Chad Sato, who is a chiropractor. I just lost my mind for a little moment there. It's great when you're hosting a show and that happens.
That's okay.
Okay, we're talking about the onion,
Yes.
and I have, I used to have these two spots on my back on either side of my spine, right around my shoulder blades,
Yes.
that in tumultuous times during my life would become like golf balls you could
Knots.
feel under
Yes.
my spine. And I worked with a really wonderful woman who practiced, I don't know which of these she was actually using, applied kinesiology and integrated energy therapy.
Okay.
And which is not the same thing that you are doing,
No.
but with that, it brought her to ask me what happened the first time you felt this. you know, to have that conversation, which helped me a great deal.
Yeah.
And hers was more just massage work
Yes.
that she did. But I have not had that problem. It's been, you know, 2.5 years, and it hasn't come
That's
back.
awesome.
So that is, and before that happened to me, if you would have said your body stores this, I don't think I would have. I still don't think I completely understand it.
You would have embraced it.
But now I embrace it. Now it resonates with me. I know there was some junk stuck back there.
It was gems of your experience that your body deemed it had to protect. Whether it was a trauma that your body wanted to remember that next time I come across this certain energy, this certain experience, I'm gonna make sure I protect myself and let you know that I don't feel safe. That's what your body did, what your body created.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Fascinating.
everything our body does, it's a strategy. Whether it's a cold, a sickness, an injury, a pain, it's a strategy. It's a strategy of how we're dealing with our life. So a lot of times we think, why would a person create a chronic low back pain or a chronic knee pain that constantly is there? It's a strategy because it allows them to go through their life what they have tools for currently until they recognize that they're tired of that story or that strategy, then they can replace that strategy.
So that's what you help people teach their bodies.
Teach their bodies, more so teach them to be more in tune with their bodies. Because once they can learn to trust their bodies, then it becomes their ally instead of something you battle. See, a lot of times we go through life, we take our bodies for granted because when we're young, our body responds to us. And as we get older, if we, let's say, get injured or we hurt ourselves, then we have issues with our body, or it'll fail us at the time when we need it the most, right? And we get upset with our bodies. Or let's say a very bad illness occurs. Then we're afraid of our bodies because we don't know why our body did what it did. So my whole goal is to teach people to trust their bodies to the degree where they know what their body is telling them at every single moment. Because once we have that, then we have full empowerment. Because we have our mind that is very powerful in creating things, but now we have our body that's in alignment with our mind, and so everything just flows.
I like it.
Good.
And you have happy things stored in your
Yes,
spine
we do.
as well.
Happy things.
And so how are you working with that?
It's interesting because happiness or just being able to hold on to happy memories is something that is vital for us because anytime life isn't going very good or we hit like a little valley in our life, then we have to reminisce about the good old days or things that made us feel okay or made us feel happy, and that's why we store those memories. However, that also takes energy because anytime we have to hold on to something, we're using energy, expending energy to hold on to that memory. So my whole goal is to have the memories but not have the energy that's locking up that memory, and that's where you have more freedom.
You want to have a spine that's in the present.
In the present, yes.
Make room for the present.
Yes.
Okay. So then let's talk about the watermelon.
The watermelon came about because I found that I'm using watermelon. If any of you have eaten a watermelon on a hot summer day, it's one of the most delicious things. And it's just that the water that just oozes out the sweetness of the watermelon. So I'm using the watermelon as the symbol of water, which is about emotions, about feelings. And I found that it's emotions that tends to lock us into certain patterns where something happens to us that say we felt that someone hurt us. Then we have this charge with this person because we deem that they hurt us. And so a lot of times emotions are one-sided perceptions that prevents us from experiencing the fullness of the experience. And so whenever we have feelings, our feelings is almost in tune with what is our truth, what is our intuition saying. And so a lot of times we may know we have to talk to someone that it's going to be a very difficult conversation, but we know we have to do it. Right? Have you ever had a feeling where, okay, I have to have this conversation? And even though you're dreading it, you know you have to do this.
Right.
Or let's say you're in a job that you want to say, I don't really resonate with this job anymore, but how can I get out of this job? But a lot of times our intuition is guiding us to know what's true for us versus our gut. Our gut instinct is almost based upon things that we crave, we want, which is more happiness, more pleasure, or avoid any type of pain. So that's why people have gut instincts, because either it draws us to something we want more, or to avoid something that we deem as will be more painful or cause us more trouble. So understanding our emotions and understanding that every experience we've gone through, whether it was positive or negative, that once we balance out that emotion, then it's just an experience. And we don't carry that with us for the rest of our lives.
Okay, so I think that what you're saying, a way that I interpret that is those emotions are, what happens is those experiences create filters within
Yes.
us that color the present.
Yes.
Yeah?
And the choices we make is based upon our past experiences.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So so the idea is to help clear out the filters so that we are using intuition and our brains.
Yes.
Not memories of.
Not reacting to past memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I gotcha. Sometimes, okay, good. I'm glad we had this conversation. How nice to read a book and have a question and then invite the person onto your show to answer it for you.
I'm glad.
I sometimes feel like I'm moving through a slurry of emotions and feelings and memories and thought and instinct.
We all go through that. And so it's when we can be able to really clearly pinpoint what it is that we're experiencing, then we can make a good choice or the right choice for us.
Yeah. Okay, we have to take another break. This is going so fast. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series. I'm your host, Donna Blanchard, talking with Dr. Chad Sato, and we will be right back.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Hi, we're back. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series. I'm your host, Donna Blanchard, coming to you from Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu and talking with Dr. Chad Sato. So we have a short final segment here. We're going to talk about the apple.
Yes.
We finished the watermelon emotion, that's the slurry we're working through.
Yes.
And the apple.
And the apple, I use the apple as a symbol where, I think about the story of Sir Isaac Newton, where he was contemplating the concept of gravity, apple falls down, hits on the head. And I'm using the apple as a symbolism of harmony. Harmony one home in Chinese. And what I found is our body is our home of the soul. So if we have harmony in our body, then that will give us ease and peace. So how can someone achieve harmony in one's body? If they know their body, which means if a symptom should show up, a headache, neck pain, a low backache, allergies, for instance, that's just, once we understand what's creating those problems, those symptoms, then we have more harmony in our bodies because we can address it. So the whole apple strategy is understanding the mechanisms behind the different symptoms, and that we have more ease and peace in your life because now you're not afraid of those symptoms. And that's what the apple strategy is all about.
Oh, okay.
So it's more of like a Louise Hayes type of thing where it's about understanding what creates headaches, or what creates left neck pain, what creates low back pains.
I found that very interesting in the book, that one side of the body or another will very often tells a different story.
Yeah, the left side is more female, the receiving side, right side more male, about action, taking action, doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me want to go through all my old journals and see what side was that
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So the peach, we'll talk about the peach.
Yes, and the peach, I'm using the peach as a symbol of, just think about a peach, that soft velvety skin, that when you taste the meat of a peach, it's just very sweet, just delectable. And I'm using the peach as a symbolism of longevity, as well as about really being present in the moment. So when you think about longevity, what allows us to live longer is about being present in the moment. So the peach strategy is about breath. It's about how do we incorporate breath and how do we use breath to stay in the present moment and really understand that it's about the present moment that all that matters. Because if we have one foot in the past, one foot in the future, we're not being present in the now. And also I tie in about the connection between children and parents, about how as parents passes on information to their children, and a lot of times children will hold on to patterns of parents in order for parents to deal with something that they couldn't deal with in the past. So I've seen it cases where a lot of times a child may come in with some sort of issue or problem. A lot of times it's because they're carrying something that their parents are working through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've always thought of that as we're patterning. Like I looked for a man in my life who would make me feel the same way that my mother felt, or deal with something my mother was trying to deal with,
Yes.
because that's what I learned from her how to do.
Yes.
Yeah, the same thing.
Yeah, so we mimic, we observe, and we become products of what we experience, our environment, but yet it's about bringing yourself back to understanding yourself. Because we have these conditioned patterns, but it's not us, it's
Right.
what we're conditioned. But once we can step out of the conditioning, then we can embrace the life that we want to live now. Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. And I think real quickly we can
Yes.
talk about the 5 key A's that
Yes.
you've kind of been touching on, but
Uh-huh.
it's a nice little formula to
Yes.
awareness.
So I found there's a very, it can be very simple, but yet can be very challenging, especially the last 2 A's. But the first A is awareness. A person just needs to become aware. They have pain, they have tension, they have some sort of symptom. That's the first step. It's just becoming more aware. The second is being able to acknowledge that a particular stressful situation or a change in one's life is creating that particular symptom in your body. So acknowledging that.
Okay.
Third, once you acknowledge it, you need to accept it. Accept, like, wow, this situation where I'm having a challenge with my brother that's creating this tightness in my lower neck, my right side of my lower neck. Because once you can start accepting that the stress in your life is impacting you in a way that you didn't see before, that's sometimes can resolve quite a bit of the symptom. But once we start accepting it, then we need to create a plan of action. And that's where, in a sense, we do allowance. We're allowing or adapting to the situation. We need to create a plan. What can I do now differently than repeating an old pattern? But once you create the plan, the most important step is to take action. Am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? All depends. Once you take action, then that's where we become more empowered, because now we're aware, we acknowledge, we accept, we allow, and then we finally take action on it.
Yeah.
In a quick nutshell.
It's quick. It's quick nutshell, but I'm thinking, how much that resonates with me, and I know I keep to-do lists,
Yes.
and sometimes the to-do lists are a result of the other A's.
Yes.
But when it gets down to actually doing it, it's the action. And 2 weeks ago, I spent an entire Saturday working because I decided I'm going to get through this list that's been building up for the longest time, and I got through it, and it felt so. I was just on top of the world, physically and mentally and emotionally,
Yes.
and slept like a baby that night.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's so true. But
Yeah.
once you take action, and sometimes we beat ourselves up because if we think this is what we want to do, but it's not highest on our priorities or values, we're not going to do it. We'll drag on it. If it's not inspiring for us, we won't do it. And so a lot of times we beat ourselves up unnecessarily because it's not really important to us. But we think it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever read any of Byron Katie's books? Does that name sound familiar
Yeah,
to
it does
you?
sounds familiar.
Loving What Is.
Yeah, but I haven't.
Is the first one of hers. They're very good books, and her name just popped up for me. Her writing is about the stories that we tell ourselves, for whatever reasons, the stories that we tell ourselves that are not always reality
Yes.
and not always helpful, and in fact, they're hindrances to us. It's a little plug for Byron Katie,
Which
I
is
don't
great.
know,
Yeah.
but
I will definitely look her up,
Yeah.
and I've heard of her, and I just never got a chance to read any of her books. But
Yeah.
since you mentioned it, I'm going to
Interesting.
definitely take a look at it.
There you go. Next time you have some free time.
Yes.
So the Whispers of Wisdom. And as I was going through the book, there were a lot of points where I thought, oh, yeah, that happened. Oh, yeah, I felt that. Can you rattle off just a few of those items that...
Well, different whispers of wisdom, it's like tension, just little tightness that we feel. Sometimes it can be a little bit tension we're feeling, or we feel a shortness of breath, or we feel restricted in our movements. We feel more stiffness. So I call it whispers of wisdom because our body is constantly trying to give us little hints, little signals. It could even be a little sharp tinge of pain, or it could be a little nauseousness. It could be something that just triggers our awareness, like something doesn't feel right, but many times we override it and say, oh no, maybe that's what I ate, or I'm just tired. And so it's by tuning into those little whispers of our body quicker that it doesn't become pain or some other major health condition.
Yeah. Well, and that's a matter of trusting those signals,
Yes.
too. Because the first thought that leaps into my mind is, what kind of a neurotic would I become if every little thing, oh, what's that? Where it's easy to say, I ate some bad fish.
Yes. I mean, it's not about getting crazy about it, but recognizing that our body's constantly giving us this little feedback mechanism. And if we pay attention to it sooner, then we can address it sooner. And it doesn't mean that I still experience pain. It's not a bad thing. It's recognize that pain serves a purpose. Just like the tightness, the tension, the whispers, it's trying to just get us more in tune with making a choice now instead of later.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Donna.
Aloha Chiropractic is alohachiropractic.com.
No, it's alohachiropractic.biz.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I Googled you, and I didn't even
Yes.
notice there was a biz there. Okay, thank you for saying that. And Your Happiness You is
you.com.
with just a U. Is where you go to find out about the workshops that you're doing at Happiness
For
You.
infinite body wisdom. I also teach other workshops as well that helps people to tune into their own energies and how they connect with someone else. And I also teach workshops on how people can work on their pets, their beloved pets as well.
Nice.
Yes.
Little pet wisdom.
Uh-huh.
Like kitty feng shui. I had a cat that practiced that on me all the time. Check out both of those websites for all that there is offered there. And Chad's book, Infinite Body Wisdom, is available on both websites, I think.
Yes, and you can also do my name, www.chadsato.com as well.
Okay. And Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so glad that you were here. I'm going to read a little bit now. We're out of time. We have to wrap up. I'm Donna Blanchard, proud managing director of Kumukuhui Theater. This has been The Arts in Hawaii on the Think Tech Hawaii digital series, and we've been talking with Dr. Chad Sato, and we're very grateful for him for being here. Thank you to our production manager, Ian Davidson, who is in my ear, our communications director, Chrissy Goffigan, and to Jay Fidel, who somehow manages to put it all together. Thank you for being here. If you are interested in any of our past shows or watching some of those coming up live, you do so at thinktechhawaii.com. Thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you next week. Like us on Facebook.